The hell is up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. Quentin, Caleb, myself. What's up, fellas?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I don't know. You guys are dead silent. What the hell happened? Everybody fall asleep for a second? I mean, it was just. I thought I was tired. You doing okay, Quentin?
Yeah, spectacular.
That's all that matters then. Justin Ross.
Oh,
Justin Ross. We're going to start this right off.
Okay.
We're going to start it right off.
No, that's fine.
That's the first thing I'm going to say is, what's up, Justin Ross? How you doing? You look pretty damn good in practice. For everybody out there that thought the sky fell because he walked back to the sidelines and decided to get a ride up the hill over a little hammy tightness. So we announced it on the show when it happened, but, whatever. There's the skeptics out there that just don't want to believe that things happen, things don't happen. Sometimes there's information that's real. Sometimes it's put out in a way to make you think the worst. And I remember when the first post came out that Justin, I think it was, who was it that was carted off the field first, sitting in the front seat, holding his wrist? Nico. And then a few minutes later, a tweet came out, not sure who put it out, that said Justin Ross was also carted off the field. He was not carted off the field. He walked to the sidelines and hitched a ride up the hill. So a lot of times things are put out just to jack with people and freak people out and make them think, oh, God, he's terrible. He's no good. I knew this was going to happen. This dude is fire. He is a legitimate route runner. Yeah, I've heard the stories that he doesn't look like he's the fastest guy in the world. He was never known for his speed. He was known for his route running abilities, the fact that he can catch just about any ball, and he'll rip a ball straight out of your hands. And it's pretty hard to tackle the guy. So, with that being said, nanny boo-boo to all the people that wanted to doubt what we said on Tuesday. With that being said, what do you guys want to talk about? Let's just get into it, man. I mean, it's we got a football game in 2 days. The starters are going to play on hopefully the field's not soaking wet.
Let's start with that. Let's start with what Andy Reid said today in a press conference about how much the starters are going to play, because I thought what he said was pretty funny. Let me see if I can find the quote. Yeah, here it is. So he was asked how long the starters are going to play this coming up game in Arizona. He says, as far as the playing time goes for this coming game, the ones will go for a half, then we'll mix in the 2s and 3s in the third quarter. Obviously, there are things that happen in a game. Don't hold me accountable if we pull people out whenever. So
yeah, that basically tells you that Mahomes is probably going to play a quarter. Kelsey will probably play a quarter. And then you're going to have some ones in, but you're not going to have your main ones in. That's really what that boils down to. For a full half, I should say. What do you think, Caleb?
I agree. We're going to see them play these for a couple series, and we'll kind of judge by that. It is the Arizona field and turf, so it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen there with that. But at the end of the day, what we're going to see, I think it's going to work out. So they're going to play a couple series of that. If they have one good series, then they're probably going to take out the starters. I mean, again, we're just trying to see what can the younger guys do. So that's pretty much what's going to happen. That's happening there.
That's what preseason's for. I want to say, hey, what's up to everybody in the chat right now? We got Reset, we got Scott, we got Thiz, we got Philip, and other people. I don't know who's here. You haven't said your name yet. But I agree with you, Reset. I think if, first of all, I think Ross is already at his 75%, if not more. Tony, I don't believe he's going to have too many problems this year. He may have some tightness here and there, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. The one thing I was told is that they have tried to calm him down a little bit as far as his style is concerned of running, because he's big in the juke. He's a hardcore juker, and the stop and start that he does sometimes puts him in compromising positions as far as his muscles, ankle, things of that nature. So they're trying to work that kink out of him a little bit. What's up, Will? But I heard he was pretty much going to be ready by week 1. So the story that came out that they were going to put him on IR was false. We knew that. We said that on the show a couple of weeks ago. But whether he's going to be on a snap count week 1, but he is going to be ready for it. So Reset said, "Oh my God, I want to talk specifically about this subject." What subject is that, Reset?
I think he's talking about Tony being on a snap count. I think he's talking about Philip's comment.
Oh, well, there you go, Philip. I didn't even see that. You're right, Philip. He is going to be on a snap count at the beginning of the season, but he has to be. Yeah, and he's going to be ready to go. So we got guys right now that are playing out their shoes, in my opinion. So what do you guys think? What's your opinions?
I think if you have early in the season, if you have anybody that's not feeling quite right yet, don't even worry about it. If they don't need to be, week 1 does not matter in nearly as much as it does late in the season. You're facing an NFC opponent, right? So in terms of tiebreakers, that's not going to affect you as much. So if you have a guy that you're not sure is going to be completely ready, don't worry about it. Keep him on the sidelines. You've got other guys that you can depend on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's the importance of having depth at the wide receiver position, and I think the Chiefs have that. So if Tony isn't ready, or whoever, pick a name. If they aren't ready for week 1, then don't push it. Let them sit for another week.
Yeah, let them rest. It's no big deal. They can play in the third preseason game. If not, we can just roll them out week 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's all about trying to see where these guys are at and not rushing them, because some of these guys, it looks like they'll be great contributors to this team if they can survive these injuries. It looks like that's a good chance that's going to happen.
Plus, we're playing Detroit, like Quentin said, and that gives you a really good idea of what your seconds can do. The guys that you're not really sure of, maybe going into a real NFL game versus a preseason game. If you say you don't play Tony at all, or he is on a snap count, then you know what you're going to see with Rashee Rice. You get a chance to see it. You're going to get a chance to see what's going to happen with Justin Ross, or anybody else for that matter that's new. I don't see the value in playing him week 1 unless it's just to get him a few reps, and that's about it. But I wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if he didn't play at all week 1 of the season. And he's not going to play in the preseason. Tony's not going to see a preseason snap. They're just not. I don't think they're going to take that chance. If they do, it's going to be the third game, and it's going to be maybe 1 series, just to get him some, get a little bit of work in, but that's really about it. So, more Chris Jones news. Let's get on that really quick. And then we'll go back to these wide receivers. More stuff came out today and yesterday about Chris Jones and his cryptic tweets. He thanked and he told a friend of the show's, Tamba Ali, that he loves him and he appreciates him. Everybody took that as they took it 2 ways. One guy actually said, "Oh, did Tamba step in and negotiate the contract for you?" Which, that was pretty stupid. And then other people took it as, well, it looks like he's gone. Tamba never left. He didn't go to another football team, so I don't know why they would even assume that. I think it was just a tweet. A tweet because Tamba's been helping the defensive line, especially Karlaftis, play the game and learn the game, learn the position. So why is it that everybody takes these tweets so seriously? I don't understand. Here's the thing. I'll say it. You guys chime in whenever you want. Chris Jones is probably not going to see a preseason game. There's a couple of reasons behind it. One, he's 29 years old. He gets injured, his stock drops to 0. He's not the elite guy that everybody wants him to be. I think that's first and foremost. Two, if he does show up, Andy's going to make him play. It's that simple. So he's protecting himself along. And I don't look, man, people can say what they want. I kind of don't blame him at this point. When you're in a contract year, you're negotiating a deal right now, which I do believe is still going to get done. You don't want to take a chance of putting yourself in a position that your value drops, your market drops. Why would you do that to yourself? Not right now. Do it after your contract's signed. Then if you go out there and get injured, okay, and you're out a couple of weeks, it is what it is. But don't do it prior to the season starting, because that nullifies your contract unless you have preseason and training camp guarantees, which I know he doesn't have. So what do you guys think on that?
My worry about Chris Jones and how long he's been out, right? He's missed all 28 days of training camp, all the offseason programming, is I'm just worried about rust, right? We hear every NFL player talk about how game speed is different than practice speed, and then regular season is different than the preseason in terms of its speed. So I know that he's an elite football player, but I don't want him to miss out on some of this sort of easing back into the NFL season and start slow, because he is such an important part to this defense. So that's my worry, is that because he hasn't been here, not only is he not learning the new stuff that's been involved in the defense, whatever that may be, he's not getting with some of the new guys that are along the defensive line or in the defensive room in general, but he's not going to be as effective as he could be because he's missed all of his time. And I understand why, but there are consequences for that from a team's perspective. And, the sooner he gets back, the better. But, missing this time also worries me that maybe he's in a more of a position to where he can get hurt, right? To get eased. Trent Green said it during the broadcast of the Saints game that he liked to get hit just a little bit during the preseason. It sort of wakes your body back up and as to what it's like to be hit in a football game again. And he's not going to get that. He's going to go from 0 to 100 if he doesn't come back until the first game of the season. And I'm worried that that's something that could lead to injury too. And obviously, we don't want that. We saw 2 years ago what happened when Chris Jones hurt his wrist. He was dealing with that all year, and that significantly limited his ability. So those are my concerns about it. It has nothing to do with him itself. It's just more about what are the consequences of missing the entire training camp.
Yeah, I agree with Quentin. You need to have preseason in order to go. You need to have training camp in order to go. And evidently, if you do not go, you need to if you're just running around in shorts and Chiefs are doing drills and things like that, you need to get your body used to the hits, and Chris Jones has not done that. So there could come to a point where he's going to have some soft tissue injuries develop due to not being out there playing and different things like that. And that's only to his detriment. I mean, he decided to take the $1 million in fines, and it's been accumulating more and more and more. He hasn't even came to camp yet, and now we're about to have the second preseason game. I mean, it's going to come down to, really, if he wants his big contract, he's going to have to be number one, stay healthy, number two, put up big numbers this year. And if he can't do that, well, the Chiefs are going to move on, because if you look at the defensive in-class coming out next year, it's littered with great talent. So, I mean, the Chiefs can go a different number of ways. I just believe this whole situation, I think some of this stuff could have been avoided, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You're stuck with the issues that are going on now. So ultimately, there's really nothing that can be done besides wait out and see. I mean, if Chris Jones comes out and has a lot of soft tissue injuries, like with his wrists and legs and things like that, I mean, all I can say is, well, if he was at camp, this could have been possibly been avoided, getting the body used to hit. You can't just go from 0 to 100 and not expect some nicks and stuff like all that. You're going to get hurt. But if you put your body through a month worth of rigor and continue to work on things like that, hitting, running, cutting, continuously things that Andy Reid has him go through, since he has one of the hardest training camps, it prepares the Chiefs players. If you look at the Chiefs roster, injuries as of late has been fairly low. And if it has been and if it has been bad, it's been into where it's not really taking players out of the games. Guy that's holding out of camp, I don't know. We're about to see the test of time, but I do believe there could be a chance Chris Jones could have an injury-riddled season because he's not really getting hit and his body's not used to all these different things. I hope that's not the case, but that is my fear because if he's gone, who are the Chiefs going to have backing up? Danny Shelton can only do so much.
Yeah, I feel like, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I feel like he's going to be. I feel like he might play the last preseason game. That's what I feel like is going to happen. I feel like he's going to show up between now and probably Monday and end up playing the last preseason game. That's just my opinion. But really, we don't know what he's been doing in the offseason. I know he's been fishing, but he could have been at a college somewhere taking hits from somebody. He could have been somewhere, really working out. We don't know that. The one good thing that he has going for him is the fact that he's one of the most athletic players, if not the most athletic player of his size in the league. And I think that the fact, okay, you got 8 years in the league, your body's already been beat to death for 8 years. So it's pretty well solidified in, or I guess you could say petrified. But he is very athletic, and I think that's going to be a plus on his side. Now, do I feel like if he doesn't show up at all and he hasn't worked out, he's going to get injured? There's probably an 80% chance he will. Or he's going to start off extremely slow. I don't feel like he's not done anything all season. I feel like
he's done stuff. We've seen some videos, but that's not simulating a training camp, putting your body through the ringer, preparing it slowly but surely.
Yeah, no, I'm saying we don't know if he's like practiced against other people, if he's went and
the closest thing I've seen him practice other players is when him and Dalvin Cook were working out together, and that's probably the extent of it. I don't know what else he's done.
Yeah, I don't either. And again, that's what I'm saying. We don't know what he's done, what he hasn't done, but it's just one of those things that nobody can do anything about it. If he's going to play for the Chiefs this year, so I don't know why everybody's flipped out about him not showing up yet, because he's not going to give up $28 million. Nobody would do that. Nobody in their right mind would do that. Giving up $1 million to make 27, okay, but to give up basically 28 and another $1 million, that's not going to happen. So he's already made it very clear that he's coming back and he is playing for the Chiefs this year. I still believe he's going to get his deal done. I don't see him playing in another uniform ever. So I don't know, man. I think there's just a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors that go around that sometimes it just kind of turns into bullshit after a while. And, we're not in his head. He's not in, he's not in ours. I just know that there's a lot of fans out there that have turned on him. And I think they probably ought, and it's really not his fault. It goes both directions. We have said this numerous times. It's on both sides to make this deal work. It's not just on his side. He has his own reasons partially behind why he's not showing up right now or why he didn't show up to training camp. Was it worth $1 million to make sure that you don't get injured and drop your stock? It is, especially when you're going to be one of the highest paid players in the league in his position. It's definitely worth the $1 million to not show up. But again, I think this has to be a give and take on both sides. They both need each other. As much as people don't want to believe it, he needs us just as much as we need him. And he knows that in the back of his head, he knows this. I think at some point they're just going to both sides are going to give in, break in the middle, and it's going to be done. And then all the people,
Veach is in no rush because this next class that's coming up is pretty good. You at least have 1 year of Chris Jones.
Yeah, that's the point.
Figure out what to do.
Yeah, and honestly, that deal can be made all the way up until his contract doesn't end until March 13th. So if he plays out the season and we make the deal on, 2 days after the Super Bowl, okay. As long as and look, don't put it past Veach to say, okay, wait, I'm going to sign a 29-year-old guy that's going to end up being 30 pretty soon. I want to see what he's got left in the tank for this season before I sign him and see if he's going to make a full season without having any injuries before I pay him big money. He's done that before and he'll do it again. So there's so many variables that go into it. It's almost ignorant to sit and speculate about it, and all the clickbait shit that's come out. It's one thing I'm glad we don't do, but I do feel like he's probably going to end up playing the last preseason game because he knows just as well as, like we just said, he needs to have some on-field production, even if he has been working out and taking hits from other people. Whether I don't know if he, and again, I don't know if he has or not.
I doubt that's happened.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm sure
doubt
that he's been working out. I'm sure he has like an at-home gym type deal, but there's only so much you can do without other guys trying to block you, without you, working on your skill set, your hand moves, all of that stuff. There's only so much you can do by yourself.
Yeah. So again, we don't know, but we'll find out we're going to find out how he looks, whether it be in that last preseason game or if it's week 1. We'll find out. So, but let's get back to these wide receivers really quick because Reset had a few things. He said, let me just put it up on the screen. It's easier. He said, when Tony runs, you think his legs are breaking or how his legs are moved. Damn, he's very volatile. He's very volatile. I love the guy. He is volatile. He's very agile. And he reminds me, he's kind of a combination of like a Dante Hall and a Tyreek Hill. Just bigger. He's got a lot of versatility. He moves very well. And I think that's some of the stuff that they're trying to have him back off on until he knows he's 100%. 100%. He doesn't have to worry about it. And that's okay. I mean, that's what they should be doing. That's how you get longevity out of your players. That's how your player gets longevity out of his career. And especially a guy with his talent, that's what I would do. Richie James, real quick. This man cracks me the hell up. Did anybody see the video of him on the sidelines when the girl walked up and handed him the water bottle? Has anybody seen that? It's great. He goes, "What's this?" She said, "It's your water bottle." He said, "My own water bottle?" And she said, "Yeah, that's yours." He goes, "Oh." She goes, "Yeah, everybody gets one." And he sat there for a minute and he goes, "I never got my own water bottle before." And he talked about it for a good 2-3 minutes. He was telling other players, "Did you get your own water bottle?" I mean, that's pretty sad that he played for the Giants, didn't get his own water bottle.
Are we surprised? It's the Giants.
Yeah, it's true. But that was comical as hell, the fact that he just when she handed it to him, he was like, "What's this?" I was dying. I'm thinking, this man never had his own damn water bottle before from the team.
Sometimes it's the little things in life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The little things add up to a lot.
Oh, man. It was pretty amazing. But that guy there, I want your guys' opinion, but I feel like he is going to be a freaking stud in this offense.
Well, he's proved me wrong. The stuff I was able to see from the game, I mean, he really popped off the screen for me. I really didn't expect him to do much, but he's going to be a huge deep threat and is going to be huge in different positions, specifically during the goal line. And if MBS and Mahomes ain't getting it done, I think Mahomes can reach Richie James deep in the end zone. I think he might burn a couple people this year. Great route runner for $4 million 1 year. That's a good deal. I mean, when we look at the stuff from the past, Richie James, for the most part, did pretty well against the Chiefs. So that didn't surprise me because also the time sometimes defenses were in turmoil. But really what showed me is like, dang, this guy has great rapport with these quarterbacks. He's doing great. His route running is phenomenal. He's catching and coverage. I mean, he's doing all these different things. I mean, it just shows me he's a reliable option that the Chiefs can now have. I don't think he could be the possible Juju, but I think if he can even have at least 500 to 600 yards, that's a cap of receiving this year. And I don't think he'll get 1,000, but if he can get pretty close to 600 yards and has a few touchdowns, I think he's really going to show his versatility in his offense. And I also believe you can use him out of the backfield, screens. I mean, he's just another underrated signing that not many people thought about. We're kind of like, okay, I mean, it's Richie James. He did his thing. It is what it is. But to kind of see him playing that preseason game, it's like, okay, he's shown some stuff. I think he's really going to be very helpful for this team. So shows a lot right there.
Yeah, I think Richie James is going to be an important part of this offense. I've been talking about him for a while. I think he's an easy 500-yard receiver in this offense. I think he has an important role in this offense, and I wouldn't be surprised if he takes over a lot of those McCole Hardman routes, right? I think that he's going to eat over the middle of the field, and he's going to catch a lot of checkdowns, a lot of 5-yard slants, and those sort of things. So that's the role that I think Richie James can play in this offense, and we saw last Sunday, the explosiveness that he has. And even though, he only caught like 2 passes, I think that he can be an important part of this offense moving forward.
Absolutely. Now, Reset says he thinks he could
Crazy.
get 800 to 1,000 yards easy. I mean, I don't know if it'd be easy because we have such a wide variety of wide receivers, and all of them are really good. The ball's going to be spread out pretty thin, I think, unless there's some injuries. Going with 7 wide receivers, you got a lot of talent on the field and at your disposal for that matter. So I don't know if it'll be easy or not for him to get to that, but if he's playing at the top of his game and putting other people to shame, he might hit 800 yards. Who knows? I mean, it's not unheard of. It's not impossible. I don't know if he'll get that high, but I think he's going to be a very, very integral part of this offense this year. He's too damn explosive. And you know what? Hats off to the Giants for giving up 2 really good players to us. I mean, what else can I say? I know we got a little bit of an end with them, but I don't know if the end goes that far. Maybe they just – I've yet to figure out or understand how they gave up 2 really good players.
Well, Tony, he quit on the organization. They quit on him. He never wanted to be there. And then Richie James, I mean, this is my opinion. When I first saw the signing, I'm like, is this guy like another Demarcus Robinson? I know people might be mad at me for saying that, but that's my first thought because there really wasn't much tape out there besides the times I see him play against the Chiefs and kind of exposed us. But I think that's just another reason where it shows where the Chiefs did their homework and the Giants were just not willing to give him that money and just kind of worked out. So just shows you whenever another team fails on a guy, the Chiefs can take him in and make wonders.
What did Brissett say here? He said he got DJ 8 and with primary rush offense with a top 25 QB, and he was wide receiver 1.
Daniel Jones, I think.
Daniel Jones, yeah. I actually agree with that statement. He's not wrong. I mean, it is Daniel Jones. I mean, that's apples and oranges compared to Mahomes. So I understand what he's saying. I mean, he's going from, I'm not going to say he's the worst quarterback in the league because he's not, but he's definitely not top 15 material. And now he's got the best quarterback in football and the best head coach in football to help him out and get him into the groove. So on that end, I feel like Sky Moore is really going to – he's been kind of under the radar. Not a lot of people have talked about him during camp. It's kind of weird, but they haven't said a whole lot about him. You hear about Richie James. You hear about Rashee Rice. You hear about Ross. But you don't hear a whole lot about anybody else, which I know that's because they're all, rookies or whatever the case may be. But you'd think you would hear something. And oh, by the way, they did talk a lot about Pacheco here lately. He just runs so hard. But regardless, you haven't heard a whole lot about Jerick McKinnon or anybody else for that matter. Really haven't heard a whole lot about Travis Kelce. It's all been the video and all the talk from everybody that's been at camp has been about those. And then FAU. It's always the younger guys that they've been talking about here lately. It's not the newer guys or the older guys, which to some degree I understand, but you still want to know what your ones are doing. I'd like to know a little bit more about what the ones are doing. I should say the fans would like to know a little bit more about what the ones are doing, but I know that they feel like he as far as the ones are concerned, that they already know what they can do. So maybe that's why they're not showcasing them as much. I don't know.
I
But
mean, we already know what we got, I feel like. So there's really no reason to kind of throw the ones out. We know what's there. I think honestly, we're seeing what the twos and threes will or can show us this game in the next game, and then we'll see probably the ones get I would say a small amount. I mean, it's the Arizona field, so we don't know on Terry any ACL or anything. But also that game three, I think we can see maybe a little bit more significance. But I feel like we already know what we got, so it's not really going to affect the Chiefs as long as we can find good quality backups and figure out what packages are going to work in certain situations. I think that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I think this is the time Andy's like really don't need to show anything because we're already assigned to an old machine. Mahomes and wide receivers already had Pat camp for many weeks ago, so that was kind of like pre camp for them. So it's like they really don't need to get more wear and tear on the bodies and things like that. So I feel like at the end of the day, they're going to figure out what's going to work, but they're not just going to throw them out there just because too.
Yeah. Defensively, what are you guys thinking right now as far as what you've seen out of not only the first preseason game, but after that and in camp? What are you guys thinking right now?
I think the linebacker core is extremely underrated. I think
Yeah.
that this linebacker core, Drew Tranquill, may be one of the most underrated signings looking back at it. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, right? This is a top linebacking core in all of the NFL. And you're talking about four guys that are starters. I think Leo Chenal is a starter on other teams. Drew Tranquill was a starter last year for the Chargers, and obviously we've got Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. So this is going to be a part of the defense we aren't going to have to worry about. Last week we saw Drew Tranquill, and I wrote my article about this. Drew Tranquill was cleaning up a lot. Anytime a running back bounced outside or was running out in the flat, Tranquill was there to stop him. So I think that this defense is going to be assisted by the quality of linebacker play that we're going to see this year. And I think it is another look at the NFL has started to devalue the linebacking position. And Kansas City specifically looks at guys and they say, yes, this is not an extremely valuable position as much as it used to be. However, if we can be the best we can be at this position, we're going to get an extreme benefit from being good at the linebacker position. And I think that this will accelerate.
Caleb?
I agree. I think the linebacking core is going to do good. I am very, very interested to see how our cornerback group is going to improve from what we were last year. And it looks like the cornerback group's going to do a lot of great things now. So you got Nick Jones. He fractured his hand. I feel like he either is going to be a lock to make the roster when he comes back later, or they're going to put him on IR, if you know what I'm saying, for those who are listening, air quotes there. So I think there's a good chance there. But these other guys they brought in, I mean, between the cornerback and the safety room, it's very, very deep. So when it comes to any issues that are there, I think the Chiefs are going to be all right. Also, if you look at the defensive line minus Chris Jones, because I am kind of in the belief there could be a chance he could have an injury. I think we have some guys that are going to be very, very hungry and going to try to prove what they can do. I'm very interested to see what FAU can do. Danny Shelton really popped off the screen for me, and there's many other guys like BJ Thompson who are not talking about who was taken, I think, in the 5th or the 6th round. So there's many guys available that can do a lot of great things for this defense. So I feel like this whole defense honestly is underrated in certain aspects.
I agree with you, everything both of you guys said. And Quentin, we've talked about this in the past about how the linebacker core has kind of been devalued over the years. I mean, the linebacker core. This could be the linebacker core that actually brings their market up. It could bring their market value up. Because if this defense plays the way we think they're going to play because of that linebacker core, and they have a really big part in it, their role is huge in the defensive schemes, that could really bring up the value of that market. And that's what happens a lot of times. players will, certain positions will fall off simply because you've got such a great defensive line that linebackers may not be utilized as much. But now that you're going towards this linebacker / hybrid safety type of situation, and we've got that in linebackers, plus we've got a hybrid safety in Justin Reed. I mean, it could actually bring the value of that particular position up, depending on how they end up this year. Let's get to a couple of questions. I know Rosette's got one here really quick. What have you heard about Remigio? Okay, last I heard is that he had X-rays and an MRI on his wrist. It wasn't anything major. I don't know if that's changed, but it wasn't anything major, and he should be okay. I think it was sprained, if I'm not mistaken, is what I was told, is what they thought it was. So I don't think it's anything too serious. He stepped up and played very well, and we didn't really want to lose him. And like Quentin said, I think he has a really good shot at making this team. So right now it looks like he's okay. As far as a little rest and ice and heat, he should be okay. I hope that answers your question, but that's all I know at this point. What else has he got? Tranquil gave us hell last night. I guess he must be last year. He harassed Mahomes in both games. And was a poison in the middle. You're right, he was. He was very good. And I kind of surprised we ended up with him, but we did. Hey, more power to us. He's a really good player. And I think he's going to be a huge asset. Let's see. Philip said, I want to see Shamari Connor get more slot reps. I agree with you. I also agree that they need to move, or I also think that they need to move, what's his name, back outside instead of playing the slot. Trent McDuffie. I don't know about you guys, but I think he's better outside than he is inside. And it kind of showed up a little bit, but he played out of his shoes on the outside. So we'll just have to see how that works out. And I'm sure they were just trying to, again, see what people can do. It's all about evaluation. But yeah, I agree with him. What do you guys think about Tranquil? I know what you think, Quentin. Or about was it Tranquil? Yeah, about Tranquil.
I think Tranquil's going to be a great another linebacker to have him. He's very athletic. I mean, he couldn't really guard Kelsey, but it's hard for anyone to virtually guard Kelsey. In the era we had the linebacker safety hybrid, I believe he's going to come up huge in certain situations. I mean, this is not a Danny Sorensen. This is a guy who's been reliable and done a lot of great things in the NFL. I think with him.
Sorry, I got a headache when you said that name. Sorry. Instant sharp pain in my head.
When we see with Tranquil, I believe at the end of the day, his role is going to be doing a lot of the coverage downs. I don't see him doing more of the running downs, but all the coverage. And I think at the end of the day, he may have a pick or two. Will not be surprised if there's a pass deflection or two in there. But I believe he's going to come up very, very crucial in multiple facets of the game. And at the end of the day, it's only going to make everything better for this defense. This is another piece to add just in case Nick Bolton or Willie Gay get hurt.
Okay, what about Shamari Connor? What do you guys think of him?
Oh, my thoughts on that. Shamari Connor.
I absolutely know your thoughts on him, but
Shamari Connor is going to be the next L'Jarius Sneed. Sneed's not going to get re-signed. Slide in Shamari Connor. Let's go.
I agree. Same thing there. And if Sneed does not re-sign, Shamari Connor is the way to go. And that's what we see. They're drafting players a year early, throwing them in the fire, seeing how they do. And for the most part, they've been fine. I mean, you can make the argument that the Chiefs have not found Chris Jones' replacement. Some may say it's Coburn. Some may say it needs to be someone else. But at position, you're going to have to pay some in free agency. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs have done a very good job of making sure they've had the right players in case someone leaves that following year for the cheap. And it's only worked every single time.
That's something Reset just said too. He said, how about Coburn? Because he didn't make a lot of noise in camp.
He did not make a lot of noise, and that's one person we haven't heard much about.
Yeah, it's one of the guys that we haven't heard a ton
about. Have you heard anything? Because I haven't heard anything.
I heard he was consistent. He was learning the schemes and trying to get his consistency down, I guess I should say, his footwork as well, but no negative so far.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
I haven't
that's
heard
good.
anything like majorly negative about him. So, you know, and that kind of the whole thing is that your media picks up the names that they know fans want to hear about more than they do anything else. It's just the way it is. So you're going to hear about guys that everybody's been hyped on, the hype train, you know. The one good thing about it was funny because I was on a conference call earlier with a bunch of different teams. Actually, I think there was all 32 teams, a representative from all 32 teams on that conference call. And all of them said, I asked the question, I said, do you guys have the same issue that we do as far as like fans that really believe that what they see in the first preseason game is a prerequisite of what the rest of the season is going to look like? And they said, for the most part, everybody said they do to a degree. The one that said it the most was the Eagles. That if they see somebody that is not doing well, they are not going to be on the team. They're never going to see the field. They suck. Our season's going downhill. And this could be the first preseason game, second snap. So we can't put anything into the first preseason game other than a little bit of visual. And really, you can't really even – you can do that with some of the players, but some of the other ones that are in skill positions that are really learning the entire scheme, whether it be offense or defense, you can't put a whole lot into that either because they're just now in the system. They're just now figuring it out. It takes a while to figure out Andy's playbook. So I don't know, man. I feel like we got a pretty damn good roster right now. One of the guys said, for a group of nobodies, I've heard that like 6 times now. He said everything I've seen out of that camp has been phenomenal. And, take away a couple of things that happened during the preseason game. Everybody looked really good. And I agreed. I mean, it's true. They do look good. This is a group of guys that are learning to gel with not only learn the playbook, learn the packages and the schemes, but they're also trying to gel with each other. Most of these guys have never played with each other before. So it's a learning process and a learning curve all the way around. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's guys out there that think we're not going to be any good until week 5 or 6 within our own fan base. I don't see that happening. But it just is what it is. I wish people would not read into preseason so much because it's not the end all. It's not the Bible of how the season's going to go. But that's just kind of part of fan. Like you said, fan is short for fanatic. So that's Quentin's line. And it's absolutely true. I mean, one other question I posed to him too, you guys. It was kind of comical. I said, do you guys have that problem where every single free agent that hits the market your team needs? The only 2 teams that actually answered back yes were the Falcons and the Browns. And I said, really? I said, so your fan base doesn't think that, if a big name guy comes out or even a mid guy comes out in free agency, you automatically have to have him? No, we know what we got. Most of the fans know what we got. And I said, that's not how it works for us. For the last, since in the Mahomes era, at least that I'll just go back to that point. Every single time a free agent comes out, we need him. I said we'd have like a 105-man roster if we signed everybody that we need according to the fans. And the Falcons guy said, yeah, we're the same. And the Browns guy said, yeah, we're the same. But most of the other teams, they didn't, they weren't really like, no, our fans know what we have and we know what will fit within our system. And we know that, it'd be great if we had every single big name player out there, but they may not work, which is what we preach on this show all the time. Fitment. It's a big thing.
You can't take everyone. You just can't. It'd be nice, but there's not a limited cap space, and there's just not enough room. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and not everybody.
Scheme's a big part of it, too.
Absolutely. Not everybody's going to fit within our system. I mean, they could have the biggest name in the world, but they're not going to fit. So what's the point in paying somebody a stupid amount of money if they don't work? We've seen teams do that year in and year out. They give somebody an ignorant amount of money, and they suck in that system. It happens every year. So I don't know. Something I found out I didn't know. Did you guys know that Marcus Mariota was a backup in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I saw that.
I did not know. I didn't see that. I didn't know that happened. I don't follow them that much to know, but I did not see that. I was kind of surprised, but one of the guys said that they thought that was one of the best backups they've ever had, and I said, "Did you forget you had a backup that won a Super Bowl for you?" Yeah, he's a flower child and he's weird as hell, but he won a Super Bowl for you. I mean, let's not forget about Nick Foles, because he was the main reason why you guys won. So
that's not the name that I know him by.
What's the name you know him by?
It's Big Dick Nick.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
He showed up in the biggest game of the year, so he did everything he could do and beat Tom Brady. So,
hey, you know what? He's the second guy that you would have never expected to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. Him and Eli Manning. Who would have ever expected that? And Eli Manning did it twice. So, hats off to him. Anyway, I had to throw that in there because I thought it was kind of comical. What else you guys got?
That's everything that I have. Unless
I just had one more topic. What are your guys' thoughts on Prince to end out the show? Like, what do you think he's going to do realistically? I mean, do you guys think he's kind of going to jump in? Because I feel like he's too good not to play, similar to how we saw Pacheco when he first started the Chiefs. I mean, he did some stuff in preseason, but when it came to that first game in the season, he ended up coming in on that very first drive for a play or two. And that really doesn't happen, honestly, a lot of the time. That really doesn't happen as much. And to see someone like him do that, I'm kind of wondering, is the same going to happen with Prince? Because he has just shown flashes of greatness. And I think he has a chance to do some damage, and this running back room could be running back by committee, or it's just split 33, 33, 33, I feel like. You have literally Thunder, Lightning, and then also the combo of Thunder and Lightning with Pierce. So I feel like with all these three different guys and also adding CEH, which I really don't know what he can do at this point, I'm curious to see what you guys think about just his production stuff kind of going to the season, and maybe what do we think he can possibly do? Is he going to have a Pacheco-like season, or do you think it's not going to happen?
Quentin, I can spit out something really quick and then you can take it. I think that he's the 1-2 punch with Pacheco. That's what I think he is. I think that people underestimated him after that first preseason game, but I do believe he's that 1-2 punch. He's not a glass slipper. And I don't see – hey, what's up, Chiefs Live? I don't see CEH. Even if he was to be a third down back, I still see him injured by week 5. So that's all I got to say about that. And that's what I've heard as well, too, is that they really believe he's got every bit of the tangibles to be that 1-2 punch with Pacheco to just really put some hurt. And he can catch out of the backfield, which is something that is going under the radar. So go ahead, Quentin.
I think he's extremely raw. I think that's what it is. I think that coming from a smaller school, coming from, he didn't catch any passes out of the backfield while he was in college, right? He's an extremely raw talent. And that when you see a guy get hyped up as much as he has, then you sort of create expectations that become kind of unreasonable. And then when he, quote unquote, underperforms in a preseason game, he gets bashed for it. But did he really underperform, or did we just have too high expectations for him? And I think it's more the latter. So I think he's extremely raw. We'll give him a couple of games and see what happens, right? It'll be a guy that we watch closely in this preseason game, because I do expect them to continue to use Clyde and Prince a lot. So get that offensive line that number 2, number 3 string offensive line, see how Prince does behind that, and we'll see what happens. I do think he looked explosive and athletic. We've seen him catch the ball out of the backfield in training camp, so we'll see what happens. But I just pump the brakes a little bit and see how he develops. I still think that he's an exciting prospect, but it's just a guy that comes from a smaller school. Not a Georgia or Clemson or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that I don't want to say mediocre performance. It was fine. Doesn't mean that this is the end of it.
I agree. I agree with you. Everybody I've talked to has said the same thing about him, that he can catch out of the backfield, even though he didn't do it a whole lot.
He did it in camp.
He did it in camp.
And if anybody literally did not catch a pass in college.
No, he didn't. And if anybody remembers a player that came from a small school a few years ago that turned out to be one of the better running backs that we've had since Jamal Charles, and that was Kareem Hunt. He came from a smaller school.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really believed much in him. And look what he did. We got Pacheco that was a 7th-round pick. Look what he did. So I agree with you. I think that he is raw, and I think he's got a lot to learn. And, of course, you're going to see him in CEH at the beginning of the season because they're trying to figure out what 3 they're going to hang on to for this as the season moves forward.
I personally don't think you take CEH, but I think they might.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, the room's already too deep. We already know what we got from those 3 guys. So that's just my 2 cents.
I agree. I agree with you. I mean, I don't see why you would hang on to him. I understand that he gets paid either way, which he does, unless we trade him. So he's getting paid. Whether we cut him or not, we owe him $2 million. Doesn't matter. So if you do hang on to him, I mean, I get it as maybe an insurance policy, but so far he's been injured in every single season he's played. So he hasn't completed a season.
Yeah,
I don't think he's come close to completing a season, as a matter of fact.
He plays 3-4 games, get injured for a couple, comes back 3-4 games, gets injured. I mean, it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah. So he's the glass slipper. I mean, he really is. So, and I still am under the belief that he doesn't have as much passion for the position as maybe he once did. Christian always said he hated football, but he did it because it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and that's why he played. And I'm kind of wondering if that's not the same for Clyde. He has a lot of other interests besides football. So who knows if it wasn't just a means to an end for him, or, to jumpstart a different career with the money that he did make. Who knows, man? But it just seems like to me that he doesn't have the passion or the intensity for the game as maybe he once did. I don't know. And maybe he realizes that, shit, this is not LSU. This isn't me being able to run freely like there's nobody on the field because I played behind an historic offensive line, and the game was slower, and everybody had their eyes on me, and just the whole thing. I don't know what it could be, but to me it just seems like he just doesn't have the intensity. Everybody else is hungry. He doesn't seem to be that hungry. I guess that's where it really kind of boils down for me. But Philip said Deneric Prince is Alfred Morris with speed. He can come around. I can see that. I can absolutely see that. I think he's got a lot of learning to do, but I think he can be that 1-2 punch. So, with that being said, everybody quit worrying about Chris Jones. Focus on what's here right now. Don't read too much into preseason games. Wait until week 3 before you do that of the preseason, because when cutdown day comes, you'll know who they give a shit about, who they think is going to make this roster, who they think is going to be good enough to play on this team and win a Super Bowl. So until then, Speculation is what it is. But remember, it's evaluation time. That's what this is all about. With that being said, I don't think either one of us, any of us, have anything.
We
more
got
to
it.
say.
No, we finished everything.
Got it all covered. So we will talk to you guys again after the game on Saturday. Peace out, everybody.